Welcome to the Real Estate Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Lipsky of Break of Day Capital. I talk to leading experts to discuss a wide range of subjects to educate investors on best-in-class practices to build legacy wealth and positively impact communities. Let's jump in. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Lipsky with Break of Day Capital. Be sure to join our Facebook group, Asset Management Mastery, where we have a great community of thousands of like-minded individuals sharing resources and best practices. Hey everyone, we have launched the BODC Multifamily Impact Fund. Invest with a trusted operator with a track record of success. Our fund offers diversification, risk mitigation, tax benefits, and stringent acquisition criteria. If you'd like to learn more, head over to our website at breakofdaycapital.com.
Choosing the right insurance coverage for multifamily properties isn't that complicated, if you know who to talk to. At the Garzella Group, we're uniquely qualified to help you navigate the range of policy choices you have, and we're committed to saving you 30% in the process. We do intensive market research and have nationwide relationships, so we can find coverage other insurance brokers simply can't. We should talk. Go to quotenow.biz and we'll start the conversation.
Today on the podcast, we have Matt Aitchison. Matt is an esteemed boutique hotelier, commercial real estate investor, and highly sought after speaker within the real estate industry. Matt is the founder and CEO of Imagos Group, which specializes in the innovation and evolution of boutique hotels and commercial real estate assets. In addition to hosting a top 100 ranked business podcast in the world, which I've been on, so definitely check that out. Thanks for joining us, Matt. Can you start by telling the listeners a little bit more about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm as are you, Gary, a real estate investor that pretty much eats, sleeps, and breathes this stuff. I am a dad of two daughters, expecting our third here pretty shortly. I got a beautiful wife, Marie. I'm from Sacramento, California, and most of my investing journey has been around Northern California until about 5-6 years ago. Started investing in some commercial real estate out of state. And now after actually selling off my 3 hotels and my operating company, and kind of on the hunt for the next, hotel project, I am invested in some spirits and a distillery, as well as, a variety of different commercial real estate assets that I still operate within my own portfolio.
So you even added more stuff to your portfolio. So I'm curious, are there different seasons, based on the cycles? So you'll look for something else. How do you decide what is the best thing to invest in at any given time?
Yeah, I mean, hotels, people ask me, how'd you get into hotels? Have you been in hospitality for a long time? I actually accidentally fell into hotels. One of my Instagram followers brought me this opportunity. I've got a great hotel, off market, distressed in Lake Tahoe. Is this something that you'd be interested in? And, I have really been somebody that when I see a value add opportunity, I've got great vision. I've got a great operating team around me. So I've been very much asset agnostic. I've been in all different types of commercial real estate assets over the years. And for me, more so, it's around the value add strategy. And, I'm not somebody that is in a season of life where I'm looking to be a passive investor and sit back. I've got a lot of gas in the tank, a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, and big goals, right? So I never really stay somewhere longer than I think I need to. I like to, create the vision, stabilize the asset, maximize the value, and then parlay that into something else that I can kind of go and do it all over again. So that's what I did with the hotels. I, had pretty much maximized the value of those assets. I could have sat on them and continue to stack and build in that particular vein. But I got a great opportunity to kind of trade out of those assets into another asset that had kind of some value add components to it again. And for me, it was one of those things where I know that I've got a long runway in front of me. I'm a crock pot, thinker versus a microwave mindset. And so knowing that, this is a game of stamina and a game of repetition, it's a marathon made up of many strategic sprints. It felt like a great opportunity to kind of close that chapter and move into some new opportunities. Also pending, I always take what the market has given me. And, obviously knowing different economic cycles and, I'm not one to say time the market, but there are certain times in the market where you may want to look at your overall portfolio, top grade your portfolio, get rid of some dogs, and maybe look at what other opportunities are out there. So I took some chips off the table. I 1031 some chips into some other assets, and I'm looking at what the market is going to give me right now in this next season.
So you and I are pretty similar in value add, seeing value where others do not, and taking chips off the table. I've definitely seen people where they've gone too greedy, and that potential to taking that 2x now becomes 1.5x in twice as many years because they missed that opportunity to sell.
Yep.
And yeah, take the win and move on. Curious, how did you develop that value add mindset? Where did you hone that skill? Where did that come from?
It came from my first hotel. Being around guys like you and other, mastermind groups and having a lot of great mentors, I've always known this about myself. I was never the fastest. I was never the smartest. I was never the strongest. So I knew that by surrounding myself with those types of people. I'm a very curious person. I like to check my ego at the door every day and just learn and find different ways of adding tools to my tool belt and utilizing my skill sets that I do have. One being I'm a really hard worker. I'm a really great relationship builder, and I'm really good at putting other people in positions to exercise their zones of genius and skill sets with a common goal or a common mission in mind. And so on my first hotel, I'd done that, mind you, in single family and flipping houses and buying duplexes and then moving up to fourplexes and then buying some, smaller assets like that. But I learned, man, I have this big goal of cash flow, I have this big wealth number that, I want to achieve in my head. I got to buy a lot of freaking single family houses to get there. There's got to be a better way of getting to this goal. And so I started reverse engineering what, at that time was my cash flow number that I really wanted to work towards. And that was $500,000 a year in passive income. And I was like, man, I got to buy a lot of single families to be able to get there. So I started reverse engineering what that, number could look like. And it was, well, if I could just buy one commercial real estate asset a year that netted me $50,000 a year and just do that for 10 years straight, I can buy one commercial asset a year. I'm smart enough to do that. I've got enough smart people around me to help me accomplish that goal. And that's ultimately what led me into pulling the trigger on that hotel. And then as I got into that game, it's kind of like the first time you sit down to playing Monopoly or chess, right? You don't necessarily know exactly how to play the game at the highest level, but when you pass go enough times, you start to understand the rules of the game, what properties you may want to buy, how they all tie into the big vision. And then you start playing it to a little bit higher of a level and then a little bit higher of a level. And so when I got into the commercial space, I started going, man, this value add play of taking something that's either got under market rents or it's a dilapidated asset and fixing it up to make it nice, to allow the operations to generate more revenue, to stabilize a property. That skill set had such a higher ROI applied in that arena than it did in single family. And so I kind of just learned through osmosis by being in that particular game and then trying to figure out as I played it a little bit more, how to play it at a little bit of a higher level and then a little bit of a higher level. And over time, when you see other people doing it in different facets of commercial real estate on different asset classes, then I started to kind of go, okay, I like this vein. I can definitely mine here a little bit more. I like this vein. I don't think I want to go in that area. And it was just one of those things by learning from other people's mistakes, learning from other people's wins. And then I would just tell people I'm just dumb enough to believe in myself and smart enough to take action every day. I started to learn that my skill set in commercial real estate was probably the best place that I could apply it to that was congruent with my goals and the vision that I'd had for my life. And so that's ultimately what that first hotel did for me. It unlocked that, mindset and belief in myself that this was going to be the tree trunk that I'm going to consistently just keep chopping wood at, and know that there's going to be a lot of branches that come off of that over time.
I love there's so many golden nuggets in that. If you just came out on the podcast and to listen this last three minutes, like rewind it back and play it again. I mean, you talked about curiosity, which is so important, and I think some people lose that over time. As they get in the business and they have that fixed mindset versus that growth mindset, and it's constantly changing this game and figuring out what worked last week could be different than next week, and having the right people in the right seats, working hard. It just a couple of basic things just separate like you from so many other people. It's remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to be that smart or that fast or that strong or all the things that people think they need to be. Um, I think that if more people just check their ego at the door and were constantly, putting themselves in a position to just learn every day and say, where are my blind spots? Where are my strengths? Where can I grow? Where can I double down? Where do I really need to like stop doing things? Those little things don't require a lot of effort. They just require a lot of awareness. And I think that's one of the, greatest strengths that I have when I look at some of my mentors or some of the most successful people in the world or some of the most impactful people in the world. They have this heightened level of awareness to where they can truly check their ego at the door and find ways of not trying to be right, but doing what is necessary to win. And based on what game you're playing, right? There's a formula and there's an equation for winning in everything. And so for me, that's something that I just try and give myself as much of an opportunity to stay aware every day. And, there's a lot of things too that just by being likable, people want to help you. And they want to see you win and they want to give you resources and they want to bring opportunities to you. And that's ultimately how I have been able to find some moderate success over the years is kind of by just being likable in a lot of ways. And I kind of boiled it down to a little bit of a formula. I call it the likability formula. And I think anybody can become more likable. And if the more likable you are, the more opportunity you're going to probably stumble your way into. And that formula is you are humble, number one. To show humility is a very likable thing. But also number two is you got to be confident in yourself, not cocky, but confident in yourself that even if you don't know things, you can figure them out, right? Or confident in who you are, your values, what strengths you bring to the table. Number three is hard work, of course, right? There's so many things that can be overcome with hard work. And if you pair those things together where you're humble, but you're confident, but you're consistently showing up and working your butt off, those kinds of people, I don't know about you, but when I'm around people like that, show those types of qualities and characteristics, I'm like, man, I like that person. Like, I want to see them win. How can I help them win? And I think the last kind of asterisk and component to that is if you're somebody that is consistently looking for ways to bring value to other people, it doesn't need to be value in making them more money, right? It could be value in support, it could be value in values, it could be value in so many different other facets, but you throw those four qualities and characteristics together, you're going to align with people who also put value on those qualities and characteristics. And those are the kind of people that I want to be around because most of the time, the people who exemplify those things are the people who are winning.
Absolutely, 100%. I love it. So many people get in their own way and overthink things. There's always going to be someone smarter, richer, better looking, faster, whatever it is. But
Yep.
you could certainly, it's like you said, just the basic stuff, being humble, being curious, being nice, helping others just goes so much further. And you're just going to get so much, you're going to be happier. You're going to be a lot more successful. So I love it. I love it. Let's get back to real estate. So what asset classes are you kind of focused on right now? Because I know you even mentioned distillery. I think you said as well. So what
Yep.
what got you into that?
So A friend of mine that I met through Women's Go Abundance. I've known her for about 6, 7 years. She's a phenomenal distiller, has amazing product, amazing reputation. And I've kind of been consulting and helping her over the years. And she just kept joking around, when are you going to get into spirits with me? When are you going to get into spirits with me? And as I got deeper and deeper over the years into hospitality, I really loved that I really learned that I love hospitality. And so when I exited the hotels, I said, "Hey, I'm looking for my next hospitality project." And she said, "Well, I'm serious. When are you going to get into spirits with me?" So that led to obviously a discussion around, partnership and getting into some investment with her and her business. So working through some cool hospitality projects there. I'm all about, assets that, don't get me wrong, I've got strip centers, I've got medical office buildings, I'm in apartments, I've got some single family. I can't go and take my kids and my family and my friends to go have a bunch of fun in the liquor store in my strip center. But I can take them to a distillery, or I can take them to a hotel. So I learned through, investing in the hotel space that I really have this passion for, obviously I'm an investor and, I'm a capitalist and I love making money. And that is, something that allows me to be able to live the lifestyle that I want. But, not all wealth building assets and vehicles give you that opportunity. But in hospitality, you really do have some of those opportunities. And I kind of look at it as like the trinity of real estate investing. My hotels obviously kicked off cash flow. They had all the tangible, benefits of a traditional real estate asset, the tax depreciation components of it. But then there was this experiential side of it. And as I, started to accumulate a little bit more wealth, and it became less about making more money and more about experiences and memories, hotels were what kind of unlocked that, opportunity for me. And so I really started looking at hospitality assets in a different light. So that's what led to that opportunity. And then right now I'm working through, about to close on a 70,000 square foot retail plaza, that, we're going to completely redevelop that entire plaza and parcel off some of the out parcels, and working through the development of a QSR restaurant right on, the property there. So I enjoy real estate assets that challenge me, that I can take from what they are and envision what they can be and figure out the roadmap to getting there. And then, figuring out how to put the right people in the right seats, as you said earlier, to go out and execute on that vision. So that's ultimately what I'm focusing on right now.
Very nice. I want to go going back to the distillery. These actors, Ryan Reynolds and George Clooney and others, they've made more money by owning something. Getting into the liquor business, or Mint Mobile for Ryan Reynolds as well, than they ever did in acting. And they get paid really, really well in acting. Yeah. I mean, it could be $20 million a picture, but I think the distillery, or well, George Clooney, I think sold his tequila for like over $1 billion. Ryan Reynolds too. I mean, owning something is the key to financial freedom.
Agreed. I mean, I think it's, especially in today's world, there's so much volatility, so many different things going on in the global economy and the US economy. There's a lot of risk that goes along with just trying to create financial stability, let alone financial freedom. And, I think if you can be in an ownership mindset, with the government, if you go and look at the IRS tax code and the government, they incentivize ownership. And now not everybody was taught how to have an ownership mindset. So I think, why one of the reasons why I've had my podcast for 9 years and why I'm so passionate about talking about, because wealth means something different to everybody. Let's start there, right? Like my definition of wealth may be different than your definition of wealth, may be different than the guy who just says, hey, wealth to me is having enough money to, go in my minivan and drive around the country and find all the best surf spots and not have to stress about money. That's wealthy to me. So depending on what your version of wealth is, first and foremost, you got to get clarity in what that is. But then you got to get into a space where you can own something that funds that freedom, right? And you just can't do that. You don't have that security by being, a slave to the system, and what unfortunately so many people are. And it's, not by their doing most of the part, right? Most people just didn't have access to the right conversations, or weren't in the right environments, or weren't born into the right situations. And so I understand that. And yet through discussion, through, these types of podcasts, through what now we're seeing, a lot of on social media platforms, and the education that now is much more accessible to people, we can at least expand people's mindset around what is possible for them. And there always is a path to unlocking that. But obviously that comes with taking massive action, taking risks, right? Putting yourself in, the right rooms around the right people. And that's hard for a lot of people, depending on what their circumstances or situations are. But as you said earlier, you got to own something, because there's so many benefits when you're on that side of the fence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not being afraid of failure. I mean, I've taken my plenty of punches in my time. I'm
Oh
sure you
yeah.
have too. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
that
mean,
goes with the territory, but you learn from them. And if you haven't failed enough, then you're not growing,
when you look at, I mean, everything is hard in life at the end of the day. Having a six pack is hard, and being fat is hard. Having an amazing marriage is hard, and being a single mom is hard. You could go down the line of pretty much every facet of life and look at the duality of, the great side and the bad side, and both of them are hard. But you have to be willing to take some of those risks and choose your hard in, what you ultimately want to look back on your life on and say, this was the path that I chose, versus it being something you accepted as default. And for me, when I get to my deathbed, if I were to theoretically watch a video of my life replay, I want to look at that video and go, damn, that was a hell of a ride. I want to say that, I chose my path instead of allowing somebody else to dictate what my path was for me. And the beautiful thing, if you live in America, is you have a choice. You really do. No matter what somebody tells you, you have a choice. And so for me, I don't think I'm going to be most proud about how much money I accumulated. I'm not going to be most proud or excited about, what awards or trophies I collected. I'm going to be most proud about the risks that I took and the life that I chose to live and fight for. And when you look at the people who do that, those are usually the people with the most scars on their back, right? Those are the people who have probably the trail of the most failures behind them. But as an entrepreneur, or somebody who's chasing more, a bigger, a better life, that's part of this path. Pain is a part of the path of progress, of growth. And for me, as I've gone through that, journey for myself over the years, the initial fears, the hardest part is getting out of the gate. But once you get out of the gate and you go through the fire a little bit and you realize, okay, I still got a pulse. My wife still loves me. My kids still think I'm awesome. Maybe I didn't win the way I wanted to. I'm still winning. And I'm still by being in that position, given an opportunity to go out and win again the next time. And every failure, is a learning opportunity. And every time that fear is overcome and you actually go through it, no matter what the outcome is, and you still realize that you're still, 6 feet above ground, you kind of desensitize yourself a little bit more and more to the fear every time. Now, the fear is still there when I go and take big risks. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just a little bit, wiser and more equipped on how I handle and navigate and interact with that fear now. And if you're not fearful of anything, you're not alive. So you got to be able to, make sure you're having the right conversations with yourself when that fear shows up, and not allowing it to be something that just completely holds you back from taking the risks that ultimately are going to be what unlocks what you're desiring on the other side.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Matt, great conversation. Really awesome to have you on. Where can listeners find out more about you and your company?
They can check out, I'm on social media at official Matty A, Mattya is pretty much all my handles. Or you can check out wiseinvestorcollective.com or mattaitchison.com. But I also have my, podcast, Millionaire Mindcast, 3 episodes a week where we talk about all things mindset, money, motivation to help people on their wealth building journey. So they can always find me on there.
Awesome. Well, this is Gary Lipsky signing off. I'll be back next week with another informative episode on the Real Estate Investor Podcast. To all of our listeners, thanks for joining us. And if you like this episode, please head over to iTunes or Stitcher and like, subscribe, and leave a review, as it will help us reach more people. And if you'd like to learn more about what we do at Break of Day Capital, head over to our website at breakofdaycapital.com and sign up for our newsletter and fill out our investor application. We'll talk to you next week.